There comes a moment in every life when the heart feels heavier than the body, when the road behind us looks easier than the road ahead. In that moment, silence grows loud, doubts grow strong, and the world seems to ask one simple question: how much more can you endure? It is there, in that fragile space between giving up and going on, that your true strength is tested. You may feel tired, unseen, and uncertain of the outcome. You may wonder if the struggle is worth the sacrifice, if the dream is worth the pain. But listen carefully. Every great transformation in history began at the edge of exhaustion, at the point where quitting felt like relief. What you are feeling right now is not weakness. It is the sign that you have come too far to turn back. Do not mistake this moment for the end. This is the pause before a breakthrough, the breath before a powerful step forward. If you are still standing, still listening, still hoping, even quietly, then your story is not over. The world has not yet seen what you are capable of becoming. Pain has a way of convincing us that it is permanent, that the struggle we feel today will follow us forever. It speaks to us in quiet moments, telling us that we have reached our limit, that we have given enough, that it is acceptable to stop now. But pain is not a message to quit. It is evidence that you are still moving, still stretching beyond the boundaries of who you once were. Growth has never been gentle. It demands effort, endurance, and the courage to remain standing when comfort disappears. Every meaningful journey passes through hardship. No great achievement, no lasting freedom, no true victory has ever been born without sacrifice. When the path becomes difficult, it does not mean you are walking in the wrong direction. Often, it means you are walking towards something important. The resistance you feel is the weight of transformation, shaping you for responsibilities you do not yet fully see. There will be days when progress feels invisible. You may work tirelessly and still feel as though nothing is changing. But understand this truth: the most important changes happen quietly. Just as the roots of a tree grow deep in darkness before it rises tall in the light, your strength is developing beneath the surface of struggle. What you endure today is preparing you for the moment when your resilience will be required most. Do not be ashamed of your pain. Do not hide your scars. They are not signs of defeat. They are marks of survival. Each challenge you face and overcome adds another layer to your character, another lesson to your wisdom. Pain teaches patience, humility, and empathy. It reminds us that we are human, yet capable of extraordinary endurance. There is dignity in persistence. There is power in choosing to rise again after being knocked down. The world often celebrates the finish line, but forgets the long, painful road that leads to it. Yet it is on that road where true leaders are formed, where inner freedom is discovered, and where courage becomes a habit rather than a reaction. When the burden feels too heavy, do not ask yourself how much longer you must suffer. Ask yourself why you began this journey in the first place. Purpose gives pain meaning. A struggle connected to purpose becomes a source of strength, not despair. You may bend under the weight, but you do not have to break. So stand firm in the face of pain. Allow it to shape you, not silence you. Let it refine your spirit, not rob you of hope. If you are hurting, it means you are still alive in the fight. And as long as you are still in the fight, your story continues. Keep walking, keep believing. Growth is happening even now. There are moments when the present feels so heavy that it convinces us it is all that exists. Pain narrows our vision. Struggle shortens our sight. We begin to believe that this single moment of hardship defines our entire journey. But life was never meant to be measured by one season alone. You are standing in a chapter, not at the conclusion. What you face today is powerful, yes, but it is not greater than the future you are building. Every meaningful purpose demands patience. The work that truly matters often moves slowly, quietly, and without immediate reward. When progress delays its arrival, doubt tries to replace purpose. Yet the value of your struggle is not determined by how quickly it ends, but by what it is shaping you to become. The present may be painful, but it is temporary. The future you are preparing for is lasting. Do not allow a difficult moment to make you forget your reason for beginning. You did not come this far merely to survive a single obstacle. You came this far because there is something ahead that requires your strength, your wisdom, and your endurance. The mountain you are climbing exists because there is a view worth reaching. If the journey were easy, it would not prepare you for what awaits at the summit. History teaches us that purpose is often born in adversity. The greatest changes in human lives and human nations did not begin in comfort, but in suffering guided by vision. When a person understands that their struggle serves something greater than their pain, endurance becomes possible. Pain without purpose breaks us. Pain with purpose builds us. There will be days when the future feels distant, when hope feels fragile, when the temptation to quit feels logical. But logic alone has never built greatness. Faith in a vision not yet visible is what carries us forward. Even when you cannot see the full path, you must trust that each step is taking you somewhere meaningful. You may not understand today how this hardship fits into your story, but one day it will make sense. Your current situation is not a measure of your worth, nor is it a prediction of your destiny. It is simply a test of your commitment to the future you claim to desire. Every sacrifice you make now is an investment in the person you are becoming. Every tear, every setback, every moment of perseverance is laying a foundation that cannot be shaken. Lift your eyes beyond this moment. Refuse to shrink your dreams to fit your circumstances. You are not meant to be defined by what you endure today, but by what you rise to achieve tomorrow. The future is calling for a stronger, wiser version of you, and that version is being formed right now. So do not quit because today is hard. Today is not the destination. Today is preparation. Walk forward with purpose even when the road is unclear. The future you are building is greater than this moment, and it is worth every step you take to reach it. There are times when circumstances close in around us, when life places walls so high that escape seems impossible. In those moments, it is easy to believe that freedom exists only in open spaces and easy choices. But true freedom has never depended solely on external conditions. It lives first within the human spirit. Even when your body is restricted, your opportunities limited, or your voice challenged, your inner freedom remains yours to protect. Courage is born in this inner space. It is not loud or dramatic. It does not always appear as bold action. Often courage. E is quiet. It is the decision to wake up and face another day. It is the refusal to allow bitterness to replace dignity or hatred to replace hope. When circumstances attempt to define you, courage says, I am more than what is happening to me. There may be forces in your life that you cannot control. People, systems, failures, or losses that feel unfair and overwhelming. These forces may limit where you can go or what you can do, but they cannot command who you become. No prison, no hardship, no setback has the power to imprison your values unless you surrender them. Your character, your beliefs, and your sense of purpose are the final territory of freedom, and they must be guarded with courage. Inner freedom demands discipline. It requires you to choose your response when anger feels justified, to choose patience when despair feels natural. This is not weakness, it is strength of the highest order. To remain calm in chaos, to remain hopeful in darkness, and to remain humane in the face of cruelty. This is courage that reshapes history, even when no one sees it happening. When fear tells you to shrink, inner freedom tells you to stand tall in spirit. When circumstances whisper that you are powerless, courage reminds you that your thoughts, your attitude, and your integrity are still under your command. You may not control the storm, but you can control how you stand within it. That choice, repeated daily, becomes a powerful act of resistance. Do not underestimate the influence of an unbroken spirit. A person who refuses to surrender their inner freedom becomes a quiet force of change. Others draw strength from their example. Hope travels silently from one heart to another, carried by resilience and courage. What begins as a personal act of endurance often becomes a collective source of inspiration. There will be moments when maintaining inner freedom feels exile. Sting when surrender seems easier than resistance. But remember this, once you allow your spirit to break, rebuilding it becomes far more difficult than enduring the struggle. Protect your inner freedom fiercely. Nurture it through reflection, purpose, and faith in something greater than your current suffering. You are not defined by the limits placed upon you, but by the courage with which you respond to them. Let circumstances test you, but do not let them claim you. Stand firm in spirit. Walk forward with dignity. As long as your inner freedom remains intact, you are never truly defeated, and your journey, no matter how constrained it appears, still holds the power to transform your life and the lives of others. Hope is often misunderstood as a feeling that arrives when circumstances improve, as something we are allowed to have only when life becomes kind. But true hope does not wait for permission. It is not born from comfort, nor sustained by ease. Hope is a discipline, practiced daily, especially when everything around you suggests despair. It is a decision you make each morning to believe that today's suffering does not have the final word. There will be days when hope feels unnatural, even unreasonable. Days when the weight of disappointment presses so heavily on your chest that believing in tomorrow feels like an act of defiance. Yet it is in these moments that hope matters most. Anyone can be hopeful when the road is smooth. It is when the path is broken, when progress is slow and pain is familiar, that hope becomes an act of courage. To practice hope is to refuse surrender in small, quiet ways. It is choosing to rise even when your heart is tired. It is choosing to speak with kindness when bitterness would be easier. It is choosing to continue the work, step by step, without applause or assurance. Hope does not demand that you see the whole journey it on. Lie asks that you take the next honest step forward. Hope requires discipline because despair is persistent. Doubt returns daily, knocking on the door of your mind, reminding you of past failures and present limitations. Discipline is what keeps you from opening that door. It is what allows you to say, "Not today." It is what helps you anchor your spirit to purpose rather than emotion. Feelings change, but disciplined hope remains steady. This kind of hope is not blind optimism. It does not deny pain or pretend that injustice does not exist. Instead, it looks directly at suffering and still chooses belief. It says, "This is hard, but it is not hopeless." It understands that change is slow, that freedom is earned, and that dignity is preserved through endurance. When hope becomes a habit, it reshapes the soul. It trains the mind to look beyond the present moment and see possibility where others see defeat. It builds patience in times of delay and strength in times of waiting. Through discipline, hope becomes less about what you feel and more about who you are. A hopeful person who persists becomes a light, even without trying. Others notice the calm in their voice, the steadiness in their walk, the refusal to collapse under pressure. Hope spreads not through speeches alone, but through example. One disciplined spirit can awaken courage in many others. There will be moments when your hope feels fragile, when it seems easier to let it go than to protect it. But remember this, hope does not need to be loud to be powerful. Even a quiet, stubborn belief in tomorrow is enough to carry you through today. Choose hope daily, not because life is easy, but because your future is worth defending. Practice it when it hurts, guard it when it weakens, for disciplined hope is not merely a comfort, it is a force that carries individuals and entire nations through their darkest hours and into lasting change. There is a moment when perseverance becomes more than a personal choice and turns into a responsibility. In that moment, you realize that your struggle is no longer yours alone. The strength you summon today, the courage you show when quitting feels easier, is quietly shaping the lives of others who are watching, even if you cannot see them. Human beings are deeply connected, and no act of endurance exists in isolation. When you rise after falling, you send a message far beyond your own heart. You teach others that pain can be survived, that dignity can be preserved, and that hope can remain alive even in difficult conditions. Many people around you are fighting silent battles. They may never speak of them, but they are observing how you respond to yours. Your resilience gives them permission to believe in their own. Often we think we must be strong only for ourselves, but history reminds us that the greatest strength is found in service to something larger. When you choose not to quit, you are standing not only for your dreams, but for the dreams of those who feel too weak to stand on their own. Your endurance becomes a mirror in which others see what is possible. Leadership does not begin with position or recognition. It begins with example. A person who continues forward with integrity, even when the road is painful, becomes a quiet leader. They lead not by commanding, but by demonstrating. They show that courage is not reserved for the powerful, but available to anyone willing to persist. There will be days when your effort feels unnoticed, when no one applauds your perseverance, but impact does not always announce itself. Sometimes it travels silently, carried in the hearts of people who draw strength from your consistency. Long after the moment has passed, someone will remember that you did not give up, and that memory will help them endure their own storm. Rising for others does not mean ignoring your pain or pretending to be unbreakable. It means acknowledging your struggle and choosing to move forward anyway. It means allowing your humanity to coexist with your courage. In doing so, you give others permission to be imperfect and persistent at the same time. Societies change when ordinary people refuse to surrender their values. Families are strengthened when one person decides to remain hopeful. Communities heal when individuals choose resilience over despair. Your personal endurance may seem small, but woven together with the endurance of others, it becomes a force capable of shaping the future. So when you feel tired, remember that your strength is contagious. When you feel close to quitting, remember that someone else is depending on your example, even if they never say it aloud. Stand again. Take another step. Rise not only for yourself, but for those who will one day say, if they could endure, so can I. In rising today, you become a bridge between struggle and possibility. Your persistence becomes a legacy. And through that legacy, your life gains a meaning far greater than the hardship you face in this moment.